Call to order of a regular meeting of Goodyear City Council, 23 August 2010. Asked Councilmember Osborne if she would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bow your heads. Heavenly Father, you are the God of new beginnings, encouragement, and hope. We ask that blessings be brought upon our citizens, our staff, and our city as a whole. Please bring healing and prosperity, jobs, and a quality of life which is second to none. Please heal Detective Stahl and give comfort to Dr. Scott's family in this time of grief. Lord, thank you for the time Dr. Scott committed to this city. Please watch over all the men and women that daily put their lives on the line to protect ours, and remind us all of the joys we share within our life that were given by you. In your mighty name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. All members of council are in attendance this evening. We do have a special guest I'd like to introduce. Council member from Gilbert, John Sense. John, would you stand up and let us see you? There he is, John Sense. John is also a retired Navy captain, so thank you, John, for joining us this evening. We have no expenditures to approve or ratify. We do have 3 communication items, and I'd like to start with the census update by Al Messias. Might be a very brief update here.
Nobody lives here.
No? Okay. We'll move to the second item. And that's to award presentation to two Goodyear residents, Larry Severich and Elizabeth Reidenbauer, for their work to build awareness and raise money for homeless youth. And I'm pleased and proud to present that to them. And I'd like to do that, if I could. And if you would come forward, please. Mayor and Council Citizenship Award for Service, presented to Goodyear residents Larry Severich and Elizabeth Reidenbauer for their outstanding service to the citizens of Goodyear through your work in raising awareness about the issue of homeless youth in the West Valley and your efforts to assist in bettering the lives of homeless children and families. Since becoming aware of the seriousness of the homeless youth problem within the past year, the two of you have taken responsibility to educate and inform the public about the significance of it and its consequences. Your advocacy has led you to organize several events to communicate the message of the issue, how the community can work together to solve it, and raise more than $30,000 to feed, shelter, and clothe homeless children. Recently, your drive and passion for this cause has led you to establish the Homeless Youth Connection Foundation in Vineyard, so that the important work of ending homelessness among our children will continue. Your actions demonstrate a model of outstanding citizenship that rises to the level of unparalleled virtue. So I thank you very much for all you've done, Larry, Elizabeth. I can have a flag. Let's do Elizabeth first. And a certificate right here. In your flag, and you're welcome to say something if you'd like.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Mayor Kavanaugh, and the citizens of the city of Goodyear. This really does go to show that the city of Goodyear and the citizens of Goodyear will not stand for children being homeless and hungry. And we really are an all-American city. Thank you.
Larry, I'm all this against you. You're welcome to also come, please.
Thank you. Thank you again, Mayor Kavanaugh, City Council, and people of Goodyear. This is outstanding. I had a vision do it, we can do it. I said, not to do it here. Of course I did. But at any rate, I want to thank everybody for this. This is such a great honor for 6 months being out there trying to do something good for the teenagers and the youth, and to get this award recognized for us. I understand this isn't given out very frequently, so it is a big honor for us to have this. And it would be in our new office along Australia Parkway, and we're going to try to show this to everyone. So thank you very much.
The third item on communication, I was to make a short presentation, and I will do that, but I became intimately aware of the great contribution of our sailors on aircraft carriers, and I wanted to present to you some of the stories and the facts regarding that, and it would take 5 or 10 minutes to do so. And I'd like to wait on it. I'd like to move quickly to the reason that most of you are here tonight, so be able to get your issues resolved sooner rather than later. After we do that, I'll return to the communications and talk about the USS Abraham Lincoln for 5 or 10 minutes, okay? All right, let's move to opportunity for citizens to comment on any item, any subject not on this evening's agenda. Would anyone like to speak on a non-agenda item?
Mayor, I do have one. Roger Matlin.
Okay.
Good evening, Council. Roger Matlin, Goodyear, Arizona. And the reason I'm here speaking tonight is first to say I hope you're having a wonderful summer. While I was away on vacation, I received a letter from the city of Goodyear saying that my threshold exemption statement for my bid to run for the city council in this coming election has been canceled. And I, back in May, had gone to the city clerk's office, and gotten the details on whether or not I can or had to file any additional paperwork, any information that I had to provide to the city, and was informed that my current statement that was on record was fine. And so based on that, I announced that I was going to go ahead and run in this coming council election. The reason I'm here today is because this notification is indicating that after the fact, and after I had announced this to the media and as well, and formed my committee and done everything I needed to, that my threshold statement has been now denied. I contacted the state of Arizona, and they said, well, the city can't do that, so bring it to the city's attention and let them deal with it. So that's what I'm doing, because I did go in May to and speak with Lynn Mulhall, the city clerk, and made sure that she was aware that I was moving forward with this. And as I said, I had announced this already with the media, so obviously it's out and about already. So I'm bringing this to your attention. This is the letter, if you want to see it, and would appreciate your attention to this matter.
Just a quick question. Are you saying that you received a letter which prohibited you from running for office in Goodyear? Is that?
The letter indicates that that basically the exemption or the threshold exemption statement that I had on record that I was informed in May was reset for this coming council election is no longer valid. and therefore it was canceled. Here's the second page of it. You can see the document here, and indicating that it's terminated. But I had already declared back in May and made a public announcement that I was running. So this kind of creates a problem. And like I said, the state said bring it to the city's attention and let their attorneys deal with it.
Okay.
So
Could we get a response now?
Yeah, we'll have to respond to you at a later date.
Can you help us understand the issue, though? I'm not sure I understand the threshold exemption.
When you run for a council seat, you either have to file a statement of organization or you can file a $500 threshold, which means you're not going to spend over $500.
Okay.
So that allows you to start circulating petitions and spending money and receiving money as long as it's under $500. This summer, we attended an election workshop put on by the League of Cities, and we were told that there was new legislation passed that $500 threshold committees have to be terminated. In fact, there is a $100 fine now if you don't terminate 90 days after an election is over. I discussed it with the city attorney. We didn't want to impose any fees on anyone. We had 500 threshold committees out there. We terminated all of them effective the date of the letter I sent to Mr. Matlin. I think it was July.
7/29.
Yeah, the end of July.
July 29th.
So I don't know why the state is telling him that he can use that old 500 threshold, because we were told something
But he could
completely
file a new
opposite.
one?
Yes.
Okay.
And as long as he hasn't passed out any petitions, I don't see that there'd be a problem.
The concern is that there might be some kind of conflict in the future. Somebody gets upset and says, hey, you already announced that you're running for office, and the city has denied your statement. So, like I said, just dealing like an attorney, bring it to the attention of the city's attorney and make sure they're aware of it. And that way it's on record and I don't have to deal with it. It's a silly little item, but
Oh, I got it.
something I want to make
Roy,
sure
can you make a
it's on
written
record.
report on this?
We
Specific
can't.
to
It's
his?
not going to go much further than what Lynn's already told you, but in essence, there was 5 open committees.
I
They
think
were-
Roger
we can-
just
we
wants a
can-
written statement
Sure.
that he's okay.
Right, to file a new committee for
Yes.
the upcoming election, absolutely. This is the old committee from the '09 election that was still left open, and so that was just a house cleaning matter.
Okay, so you work this with him?
We can certainly work it through with him.
Okay.
Okay. And just while I'm up here, I just wanted to say to the two people that were up here earlier, I think it was Larry and Elizabeth, that were working with homeless children. I think that's a very honorable matter. Having just come back from California and seeing a lot of people that are struggling, obviously we have a lot of people struggling here in Goodyear as well. I think that's a great thing that they're doing. I'm not saying this because I'm running for office. I'm saying it just because genuinely I think they're good people for doing that, and they should be very much appreciated by our community.
Thank you very much. Any further comments from the public? Okay, we'll move to consent items, and I'll ask the city clerk to read items A through J by title only, please.
Item A, approve draft minutes of a regular meeting held on May 24th, 2010, a work session, and a regular meeting held on June 28th, 2010, and a work session, regular meeting, and special meeting held on July 12th, 2010. Item B, approve a request from Raymond Perry for a new Series 03 liquor license number 030-73053 for Arriba Mexican Grill located at 15370 West McDowell Road. Item B2, approve a request from Raymond Perry for a new Series 12 liquor license, number 1207839 for Arriba Mexican Grill located at 15370 West McDowell Road. Item C, approve a request from Andrea Lukowitz for a new Series 7 liquor license, 070770003 for Cost Plus World Market located at 885 South Cotton Lane. Item D, approve a request from Dean Ambari for a new Series 12 liquor license number 120788419 for a Taste of Italy Pizza and Restaurant located at 17750 West Elliott Road, Suite 112. Item E, appoint Karen Keith to the Board of Adjustment to fill the unexpired term of Sandy Hertz, which expires on October 31st, 2012, or until her successor is appointed and qualified. Item F, approve the issuance of a utility easement to Arizona Public Service Company for Adam Wells Site Number 1, located west of Saraville Avenue, approximately 1/4 mile north of Camelback Road. Item G, adopt Resolution 10-1394, adopting the Maricopa County Community Wildflower Protection Plan. Item H, adopt Ordinance 10-1223, extending and increasing the corporate limits of the City of Goodyear, Maricopa County, State of Arizona, pursuant to the provisions of Title IX, Chapter 4, Article 7, Arizona Revised Statutes and amendments thereto, by annexing a portion of right-of-way for Estrella Parkway from the alignment for Southern Avenue North to the center line of the Old Buckeye Canal, which is contiguous to and surrounded by the existing city limits of the City of Goodyear. Item I, adopt the final Loma Linda Park Master Plan. And item J, adopt Resolution 10-1395, approving and amending Exhibit A entitled Goodyear Municipal User Fee Schedule, providing an effective date.
Would anyone in the public wish to remove an item from the consent agenda?
Mayor Roger Matlin had comments on 7H.
Okay, 7H. Do you have a question, or do you want it removed and voted on separately?
I just had a comment on the item because there's a mistake
Okay,
in the documentation.
okay.
So I'm fine with the item, but you have a calculation error in the square footage of the land that is being annexed under item H. And I'm just concerned that in the future, in some future council, 20 years from now, somebody's going to come forward and say, hey, look, you don't have all the land in the city.
Can you tell us what the error
area.
is?
Yes, it is. There's a calculation that refers to a 1,655-foot long strip of land by 40 feet.
Are you on page 2?
I'm on page 4 on the website. There's documentation for all of this, obviously. And on the website, there is a reference that explains.
Did you say 1655?
Yes,
Well,
You're-
1605.
that's correct, and that's the error. The calculation is based on 1655 by 40 feet, not the 1605. And so your reference to the amount of acreage as well as the square footage
Yes,
that is
if you go to the
being,
city council
is
action
being
form,
annexed.
the bottom of that page.
Okay.
So,
It should
again,
be
just,
1655, correct?
well, no, it should be 1605, and the calculation should be 1605 by 40, which is, I'm assuming, based on the documentation that was provided, should be 64,200 square feet.
Okay,
And you reference the 62,200 square feet and 1.47 acres, I think it is, which don't match up. So
okay.
just, again, an issue for the future, so it doesn't come up as a problem sometime when somebody decides to widen the street.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
I assume community development agrees with the calculation?
Well, Mr. Mayor, I'm looking at the annexation map, and it's listing 1655 by 40 on Exhibit A to the ordinance, which I presume that's accurate.
But in the discussion.
In the
of
discussion,
Discussion,
it
yeah.
says
So
16.
you have a scrivener's error in the discussion, but your map's going to control.
Okay, and the map is correct? At 64, 200?
16.
I don't know which one's correct at this point. It's whatever the 1605 times 40 would be.
Well,
So now you're saying
your annexation map is showing 1655 by 40.
No, it says less than the south 50 feet.
More or less,
So,
this
okay.
more or less.
So it's 1605 times,
Except for the south
Say more
50.
or less.
for 16, I thought that's what it said. So I don't know where the error is he's pointing out, so I'm having trouble.
Exhibit-
The error is 40 times 1605, is that correct?
Yes, and the documentation references 62,200, which is 2,000 square feet less than the actual area. So there are actually two errors in it, in the documentation. One is the 1655 reference.
Okay.
The second is the square footage of the overall site.
Okay,
A
we'll
minor error
we'll-
for the
we'll-
city.
we'll just make a motion to correct the calculations in the agenda.
I would just note it for the record, and you're just approving the ordinance.
Okay.
Because it does say more or less.
No, it's quite a bit, though. Okay, well, thank you. Is that the only one we have?
Yes.
Okay, would anyone in council wish to remove an item from the consent agenda
Yes, Mayor, like to pull I for an update.
for an update?
Yeah, question update.
Loma Linda, Mike?
Just very quickly, we are currently rounding out the fundraising committee to make sure that this becomes a City of Goodyear project and not just a historic Goodyear Neighborhood Association project. Parallel path, we are grant mining to determine the availability of grant funds for the project. We are currently working with Goodyear in Action on an agreement in which they will set up a donor-advised fund for us, which would allow us an opportunity to tap nonprofit grants that are available to nonprofits, not just for the City of Goodyear. And, you know, we hope to raise approximately $250,000 by early 2011 for the purposes of moving forward with design documents as well as construction documents with a potential groundbreaking in the fall of 2012. I just received word this evening that St. John Vianney Catholic Church has committed up to $30,000 for the fundraising effort to date. So that is the update. And thank you very much, St. John Vianney.
Is that what you wanted? Good, thank you.
Thank you.
It's nice.
Okay, seeing no one there, okay. Ask for a motion, and in the motion, it will be to approve items A through J and a memo for record on H to verify the correctness of the square footage of the roadway right-of-way. Okay? Could I have a motion to approve that? So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Lord,
Aye?
Councilmember Sousa,
Aye.
Councilmember Cavalier,
Aye.
Councilmember Osborne,
Aye.
Councilmember Pasillo,
Aye.
Councilmember Loretano, Mayor Kavanaugh,
Aye.
passes 7-0.
Okay, we'll now move to a business, and we have two items, but they're both the same subject. It's the pad for Pebble Creek and the plat, new plat. So the next two items were postponed at the July 12th council meeting and are related to an amendment into a portion of the Pebble Creek Golf Resort Pad 1. And they'll be presented together. You'll start with a public hearing and a staff presentation by Steve Correccia. At the close of the public hearing, council will consider adoption of an ordinance amending the pad. Sufficient protest has been filed to require a 3/4 vote of the city council for any motion for approval of the request. And that means 6 ayes, is that correct? That's correct, right? Okay, if the ordinance is continued, the preliminary plat would be continued as well. If the ordinance fails, the preliminary plat is void. If the applicant thinks it may not pass, a continuance may be requested. and it is possible that the residents will ask council to postpone again. So before I open the public hearing, I'd just like to say, Steve, if you would emphasize the salient points from the previous meeting, so we don't necessarily have to repeat those over again. We just want to have a recollection of what was stated by both the applicant and the citizens. We could do that. And then we'll have the applicant present. And then I would ask the citizens, again, last time I was not very strict on the 3 minutes. I'd like to be very strict on that if we could today. If one of the citizens simply wants to express an opposition or support, they can come forward and do that without stating anything else. It's totally up to the citizen. We ask, however, that if a point's been made, that unless you think it has to be made again, do not repeat that point. If you're not comfortable, however, you state whatever you want, and you have 3 minutes to do it. Okay? All right. Open the public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. I will be presenting on both items, the P80 amendment and...
Steve?
You have to speak up.
Hear you.
Pull it.
I will be presenting on both items, the P80 amendment and pre-plat tonight.
Grab
Right, you grab it 'cause
you have
we
a very quiet voice.
I will try to project a little further
You're
here.
in the back? Not really.
And you have several of us that don't hear real well, so I'm sure, I'm looking in the audience, I think we have some the same.
Okay. I apologize then if I get too close here.
Yeah, we have to hear everything. This is very
Okay.
important.
Okay, we're looking at tonight with this P80 amendment preliminary plat, 4 acres here on the Eagles Nest side of Pebble Creek. Here we have Clubhouse Drive, Robeson Circle. The area in question is this area right here, 4 acres proposed for 13 single-family residential lots. Surrounding it is existing Pebble Creek development to north, west, and south. This area here is the former model village. This site here was, or this right here, is the former sales center that has since been demolished. And this is the existing Eagle Nest Clubhouse. Some history on this case. The applicant did submit the P80 amendment in June of 2009. That was a request for 16 lots on 4.9 acres. And this is that request that was originally submitted with 16 lots all the way up to that main entry drive. February 2010, the citizen review meeting was held. Was quite well attended with residents, voiced some concerns to the applicant. Basically, they were questioning the loss of views, the open space, the landscaping. They had several questions on what type of development was going to go here, what would happen with their parking for RVs and for the clubhouse facility. And basically, this same plan here went to the Planning and Zoning Commission March 2010. And at the commission hearing, several residents did attend. The commission did have concerns. Staff also did have some concerns. We recommended that the applicant reduce it by 3 lots, open up the area, and so the item was continued. Went back to the commission in May, but prior to that, the applicant did meet with residents on April 9th. They did try to work a compromise solution. What the applicant came up with was a revised plan, 15 lots, so removal of 1 lot, 2 lots here, the widths were narrowed, brought it down, and added about 43 parking spaces. So that was the plan that went to the commission, and it was approved by the commission that night. July 12th, it came before the mayor and council with this same plan, 15 lots. And at that hearing, some of the similar concerns were voiced, and the applicant, and the item was continued. So where we come up with now to tonight's hearing, the applicant did meet last week with some residents. They did revise the plan. And Mr. Mayor, Council, I will have these side by side for you later, and I will explain some of the differences again, but just here to see the larger picture. 13 lots, 52 parking spaces, an additional open area here. And so this is a comparison, 16 lots and the 15-lot revision. You can see how here the development went right up to the entry drive. Here they pulled it back, lost a lot, reduced the width here, added parking, a little more open space. Since then, the applicant has revised it further. So here we have 15 lots and the current proposal of 13 lots. Added a few more parking spaces, we're at 52, brought it down a little more to where we have open space here and here, which opened up the view corridor in to the clubhouse side. And Mr. Mayor, Council, this is basically an overview of some of the resident concerns and some of the ways the applicant tried to meet those concerns. Again, like we've seen, the residents had a grave concern with the loss of views, open space, and a resort-like feel of the area. The applicant's response was to remove 3 lots, reduce the width of 2 others, which would open up the views of the clubhouse and keep the landscaping that was along those lots and the entry drive. And again, moving down, loss of landscaping was a large concern again, and what the applicant did was set back the privacy wall back from Robeson Circle, so there'll be turf, all the turf, the oleanders, the palms, that will remain. Those will not be removed with this plan. Removal of parking spaces for residents' use. Residents did say that they use these areas for short-term RV parking for large events at the clubhouse. This plan, the applicant has put in 52 parking spaces, which the HOA can use however they desire once that property is conveyed to them. Vehicular access will be from Mulberry and from 153rd Lane, primarily from Mulberry. And that access point will be built to full Pebble Creek standard. This road right here is 16 feet wide. The concern is that public safety would not want to travel down a 16-foot wide road in case of obstruction. So here we will have full width roadways. We envision that residents will use Mulberry Lane versus coming down further to the south and then exiting to Robeson Circle. And again, with these roads being full width, we envision residents to use those more often. Types of homes to be built within these 13 lots. The applicant does propose those homes that are built that you see on the Eagles Nest side and on the Tuscany side. So either style of homes would be available. All homes will be single-story per stipulation that they have agreed to. And then a couple of residents mentioned that a sidewalk to the Armed Forces Plaza would be something that they would like to see. The applicant did state that they normally do not place sidewalks in their drainage easements. However, they would leave room available should one be desired in the future. Mr. Mayor, Council staff has reviewed the revised plan. We are recommending approval of the 13 lots on the 4 acres. We feel it is in conformance with our general plan, will be compatible with the surrounding area. And with that, Mr. Mayor, that concludes my portion. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Steve. Opportunity now for the applicant.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Mark Maloney. I'm with B&R Engineering, representing Robeson on 9666 East Riggs Road in Sun Lakes, Arizona. I'll try and be brief on this presentation. I think Steve hit on a lot of the points that have been brought up. I don't know if we can adjust the slides here. It's a little bit out of off the screen, but what we put together was a visual representation of what the property looks like right now. We took a picture coming in from the intersection of Robeson Circle and Clubhouse Drive as somebody would basically be entering the clubhouse site or entering Pebble Creek. As you see right now, we have you can see the parking lot in the background with the large palms and the grassy areas, as Steve was mentioning. This here is the original proposal that we went into, which covered the 16 lots that Steve had previously mentioned. This was the original proposal that we submitted. What we came out of at the Planning and Zoning Commission was the 15 lots. And that's our current proposal, showing the 13 lots. This is an accurate visual representation using Photoshop software, which is an accurate software program for doing these types of renderings. This kind of gives you some of the same things that Steve showed you during his presentation, but I think it gives you a little bit better view of how this has progressed over time. This was the original proposal at 16 lots. That's the overlaid 15 lots. You can see between lot 7 and 8 and losing lot 9 was the original boundary that staff recommended, which was taking it down to the 13 lots. Steve also mentioned that we reduced the widths of lots 1 and 2. On our current proposal, we left lots 1 and 2 at its narrowed state and lost 2 additional lots, which takes it down to 13. So this is actually inside of the boundary that staff originally recommended and provides more open space at the entry of to the clubhouse as you drive in. We do feel that it gives more of an open feel, resort-like feel as you drive into this. We have agreed to maintain all the landscaping, the palm trees, the grassy areas, and of course the areas adjacent, which this is the proposal as of today. The open space area adjacent to the parking area, of course, will be landscaped in a manner that's consistent with the landscaping at the entry of the clubhouse. There have been concerns in the past, and I think it was mentioned at our last council meeting, some concerns about open space. The percentage of open space that's provided in Pebble Creek, the required open space. This is an overall development map of Pebble Creek Phase 1, and it's a representation of the open space that's been provided. Not only active open space, but passive open space areas as well. The dark green areas primarily constitute the passive open spaces. However, the triangular piece, I believe it's in Unit 42 or 43 at the east side of the loop there, is the area of the bocce ball and other recreational areas in Pebble Creek. So that may be a little bit not quite accurate, but you certainly can see the amount of overall open space that has been provided in Pebble Creek. And I have a little table showing the open space that's been recorded per final plats. There are some areas that weren't put in here that's actually classified as open space, but since they were very small in nature, I chose not to include them. It would make the numbers slightly better in behalf of the percentage of open space if I did include them. However, is what you see here is the lighter green colors constitute areas at the end of cul-de-sacs, between lots, areas that make the subdivision feel less dense by providing landscaping and more of an open feel. The dark green areas constitute golf course, and the blue areas, the one in Pebble Creek Unit 12 on the right side of the table is the recreation area with the bocce ball, and the other blue area on the other side is the actual clubhouse in itself. City of Goodyear Code states that open space is constituted of passive and active uses, that golf course is considered an open space area, areas that are perceived as scenic or enhancements to the aesthetics of the subdivision all constitute open space. In the definition of golf course itself, in the City of Goodyear zoning code, it specifies that a golf course is the golf course in itself and facilities that go along with it, whether it be a clubhouse, and so forth. So in these numbers, I did include the clubhouse as part of the open space calculation. But as you can see, using those numbers, we have 28.3% open space in Pebble Creek. That's well and above and beyond. There isn't a number in the PAD itself that constitutes how much open space is required. It talks about open space but doesn't give a hard number. Pebble Creek Phase 2 specifies that 18%, I believe 18% should be provided. You can see that the 28.3% is well above what, and I know I'm referring to the Pebble Creek Phase 2 PAD, but lack of a hard number for the Phase 1 development, I thought I would show it as a comparison. Of course, we're not subject to the current zoning code because this is a planned area development. However, even the current zoning code specifies for a subdivision of this density that 15% shall be required. So looking at 28.3%, we're roughly about 40% over what the required open space would be. That really concludes my presentation. If you have any questions or comments, I'd be more than happy to answer them for you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to keep the open public hearing going first. Oh. Let's get the citizens up here. You got it, Lynn. Again, 3 minutes, please. And if you just want to agree to support or oppose, if you just make that comment, you'll be in the records as such. So thank you.
Cindy Graham.
Yes.
Thank you. Frank Castillo.
What we like to do, as requested from the Mayor and City Council, we like to give our time for the presentation that Mr. Steve is going to do for us. So I indicated that to the city clerk. So,
Can you tell me, you said we, who are you referring to? No, I mean, but who is, you said we, is there more than one who wants to give them their time?
yes.
Could you tell us who they are, and so we'll...
Myself is Frank Castillo, 3640 North 154 Lane.
I'm Joanne Castillo, 3640 154th. I'd like to relinquish my time to Mr. Stefan.
Bobby Watts, 15661 West Edgemont Avenue, 33.
You'd like to relinquish your time also?
Donate my time.
Okay. Okay.
Bill Casey, 15476 West Whitten Avenue. I can donate my time to Mr. Steve Stempel.
My name is Jack Bamston. I live at 3649 North 154th Lane, directly across the street.
Okay. Okay.
Give my time to Steve.
Thank you.
Linda McHugh, 15303 West Bloomfield. I'd like to give my time to Steve.
Okay.
That is all the speaker cards have spoken, given their time to Steve.
Are these in support or in opposition?
These are opposed.
Okay. How many cards was that?
8? No, more than 8. 10, counting Steve.
Steve, you're up. Can you keep your time under 30 minutes? We'd appreciate it if you could.
I've got some great news tonight. I promise I will not be anywhere close to 30 minutes. I would like to use the overhead projector, though, whoever.
If you'd introduce yourself for the record.
Oh, yes. My name is Steve Stempel, 3427 North 153rd Lane here in Goodyear.
Thank you.
Okay. First of all, I just wanted to say that Robeson does lots of things just wonderfully. They build great communities, great houses. I think all of us, everybody that deferred to me, really loves living in Pebble Creek. It's a wonderful place to live. But like all of us, they don't do everything perfectly, and I think they've dropped the ball on a lot of what has been done with this. I just wanted to, actually, I'm just going to make 5 points tonight. I try and keep it as concise as possible. That was kind of the reason people were donating their time. We could get one person up here, be more concise, less repetitive. So anyway, I hope it works out that way.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Number 1 point, last July, at the July 12th City Council meeting, I believe there was, by my count, there was 4 of the council members that had asked Robeson to go back and meet with the residents of Pebble Creek and work out a compromise and come back. And by my thoughts, that was ignored. They did it totally in reverse. They put together their own compromise, although I don't think it's a compromise. A compromise, from what I see, is a settlement of differences, and I don't think there's any settlement at this point. They put together just a new proposal, basically, and then, and under force by, I believe, by the vice mayor and other parties, then they finally chose to have a meeting last week, and it was not really a give and take meeting. It was, here's our new proposal, and this is what it's going to be. You can give us your thoughts. We're not going to change it anyway. And ultimately, what transpired out of all of that was, yes, there are 2 less lots, although this lot number 7 is larger than it was before. And really, the change from last time is there's about 60 feet of green space right in here. That was, I used a pen instead of my finger. We gained about 60 feet of green space right in here, and that was the extent of the compromise, allegedly. So I would hope that, since Robeson essentially ignored the request of 4 of you to meet with us, work out a compromise, and then come back here with the compromise ready to go, that would be enough in itself that some of you will say no to what was done here. My second point is one that just kind of transpired from this meeting, and it kind of disturbs me. I'd heard rumors of this, but the Robeson representatives basically admitted it. The parking lot area up here that's being taken out, which was approximately 300 stalls, they basically said that that was strictly to be used for the sales center, those 300 lots, and they controlled them. However, what they had chose to do way back, I guess, in 1992 when Pebble Creek came about, was transferred the ownership of this to the homeowners association, and by their own admittance, it was to save property taxes. If they were using it as a revenue generating commercial property, which is what it was, they would pay a higher property tax than what the homeowners association would as a, not exactly a nonprofit, but not a profit generating commercial enterprise. So for 18 years, they let the homeowners of Pebble Creek pay for these property taxes at a lesser rate than what they would have. Meanwhile, they were using this property to generate millions of dollars of sales. And then 18 years, and also, I mean, basically the rest of the citizens of Goodyear were making up this extra part because it was being taxed at a lower rate. 18 years later, when they were done with all of this, because they controlled the homeowners association, basically, I would say commandeered the ownership of the property back to themselves, then chose to come forward and attempt to build 16 homes on it and walk away with a windfall profit of $1.5 million, $2 million. That whole scenario bothers me, and I hope it bothers some of you too. That's not right, and I just really would hate to see them rewarded for this tactic. Is it legal? Probably. I'm not an attorney. Ethical? I don't know. That's for you to decide on that. My third point I wanted to make this evening is we still, on the Goodyear general plan, the 2003 to 2013 general plan, I still haven't heard anything addressed. It still says in there that neighborhood parks shall be provided in all planned area developments. And Robeson wants this to be a standalone planned area of development by itself. I still don't see a neighborhood park in there. 60 feet of green space is not a neighborhood park. So I don't know. I'd like to know where that is, where the neighborhood park is, why that's being ignored. The fourth item I wanted to discuss is Robeson really doesn't sell houses, in my mind. They sell a lifestyle. Houses are part of the deal. They build very nice houses, but you look at any of their advertising, any of the print media or TV ads, they rarely even show a house. I mean, they show us playing golf, dining out, drinking, playing bocce ball, tennis, having a good time. Look at where the sales centers are. A typical sales center is closest to the arterial road where it's nice and handy and everything. Well, the sales centers for Robeson aren't there. They're a mile down the road. They want the new prospective homeowners to drive down the palm tree lined boulevard and see the golf course and the lakes and the waterfalls, tennis courts, golf courses, and then get to the sales center and you're already sold on the lifestyle. So this area is lifestyle. I mean, yes, you can say it's a parking lot, but let's face it, it was zoned recreational clubhouse. It's view, it's parking is part of the lifestyle, part of the amenity. And if they're going to start taking away lifestyle amenities for us, it in essence reduces property values. And I can really kind of have some proof of that also. I did a little quick study here, and I'm using Palm Valley. And I'm not using Palm Valley because there's anything wrong with it. In fact, I think Palm Valley is a beautiful area. It just happens to be adjacent to Pebble Creek and have a comparable houses, lot sizes. It's kept up in a comparable manner. The only thing that divides it is Bullard. And I took an area of kind of a rectangular area of Palm Valley and a rectangular area of Pebble Creek, like I said, adjacent to each other on either side of Bullard. Pulled up the home sales for the past 12 months on these two areas. And I did a nice-sized area. For Palm Valley, it's 50 homes. And again, that's just the most recent 12 months. I did not cherry-pick the homes out of there. It was just a rectangular area and used every home in there. In Palm Valley, the average sales price per square foot, $85.96. And I think that's a nice example because it is 50 homes in that area. Over in Pebble Creek, well, here we go. 48 homes in the Pebble Creek area. Our average sales price for the past year was $140.75. It's like 64% higher, and it's not because it's bigger lots, it's not nicer homes, it's not better kept up. We're paying 65% more for this lifestyle and these amenities, and if they're going to take them away, they're taking away our property values to some extent. And again, that's a major reason why I think most of us are against this. I finally just have one last item that I wanted to bring up, and hopefully I'm still well under my 30 minutes. This is a copy of the subdivision disclosure report that I was given when we purchased our home. It's basically identical to what they provided to everyone that has bought a home in Pebble Creek, at least since 1997. It's online. I've gone online on the Arizona Department of Real Estate, and prior to 1997, they just aren't stored yet, but I assume it was still the same back to 1992. But at least I found for 13 years and 26 instances of this report being published in there, and it was both for the Eagles Nest side and the Tuscany side. They're essentially identical, a couple little changes in there. Of course, like in ours, it says Phase 1 and such. But anyway, what I wanted to point out in there is each and every one of those 26 disclosure reports has an area in there called Common Community and Recreational Facilities. And there's this sentence contained in every one of those. Phase 1 at Pebble Creek will not have more than 2,078 homes, although it is possible that fewer homes will be built. And just in case anybody can't see it, I'll blow it up more again here. Phase 1 at Pebble Creek will not have more than 2,078 homes, although it is possible that fewer homes will be built. There are 2,078 homes committed at this time in Pebble Creek already. And to be more accurate, there's 2,075 homes built, 3 additional lots, 1 of which is on the golf course and sold, and 2 which are platted but unsold. The 2,078 homes are committed already. For 13 years, and this is Robeson's number. I mean, this was the homeowners that came up with the number. That's their own number that they came up with. So for 13 years, they have been telling everybody that bought a home in Pebble Creek, and probably 18 years, I just can't confirm that without going to the Department of Real Estate itself, they've been telling everybody that there would not be more than 2,078 homes built. And they've filed it 26 different times with the Department of Real Estate saying the same thing. Now, all of a sudden, their own number is invalid, and that's not right. The homeowners that I'm representing, what we would like to see is ask you to send us back to a true meeting and reach a true compromise, a 50-50 compromise. We're talking about 4 acres here. The parking area was basically agreed upon way back when, that there would retain 50-some parking stalls. That leaves us with 4 acres. We would just ask for a true 50-50 compromise. Give us the northern half where it's more visible and adjacent to these parking lots, a 2-acre neighborhood park. On the south, 2 acres. Robeson can build as many single-story, single-family homes as they want to. Obviously, 7 fits in there very nicely. If they can get more, so be it. And that would be our request. That's it.
Okay. Thank you very much. Sure. Nicely researched.
Thank you.
Mayor, I do have more speakers.
Yes.
Mark Pelletier.
Not expecting a call. I have a stopwatch. I'll try to stay in time. My name is Mark Pelletier. I live at 15742 West Fairmount in Goodyear, about 3/4 of a mile from the development. First off, I'd like to clarify something, probably a minor point about this whole thing, to which I may have contributed some confusion. Back when this originally came up against the Planning and Zoning Committee, I made comments to Mr. Correcchio related to the parking study, which demonstrated that there were enough parking spots, even in that plan, to support the facility. And my comment was that there is an area of the existing parking lot, the homeowner's owned parking lot, not any area subject to this development, that the HOA has assigned and marked for RV/overflow parking. And this area is designated by the HOA for the parking of RV vehicles for guests that come for a night or two who cannot park on our streets, and also for, again, 1 or 2 night parking for vehicles that are too large to be parked even in driveways for our CC&Rs. And my comment was that the parking study had included these 40-some spaces in the available parking to suffice the needs of the facility, and I didn't feel that they really should be required there, because the public cannot park there. You need a permit from the patrol to park there. I believe that this issue may have gotten a little distorted over the 2 planning and zoning meetings and the previous council meeting, to the point that in the most recent proposal, the one before you now, in one of the documents, the applicant had actually marked that parking area along Clubhouse Drive as RV parking. I spoke at the meeting last week with Mr. Soriano from Pebble Creek Properties, and I invite him to certainly comment if I misstate his words. But I asked if their indication on that plan was indeed an indication that that was now designated for this RV parking, etc. His statement was no, that certainly the HOA would be the party to determine the use of that parking lot, and he speculated that once this were all done, if it were to be approved the way it is presented now, that that parking area, which is indeed owned by Pebble Creek Properties, would probably be deeded, the parking lot portion, the remaining parking lot portion, probably be deeded back to the homeowners. They have no use for a parking lot. I subsequently had some discussions, some informal discussions with the HOA board, and they confirmed my understanding also that there is no intention for any sort of RV parking either by the HOA board or by a supposed stipulation by the applicant for that area to be used in that manner. So I apologize if anything I did led to that misconception. As Mr. Maloney said here earlier, the HOA, that parking lot will be theirs to determine what to do with, and probably will be theirs to deed it back to them. Very briefly, I believe...
Your time's up, I'm afraid.
Thank you.
No, he still has 30 seconds, 37.
The red light's...
My time is up.
Okay.
No,
May I have 15 seconds?
Yes.
Okay? Although I've spoken against this development in a couple of the meetings, I am of the opinion that the plan that's currently being proposed is acceptable to myself and to people who believe that, who are not of the belief that the entire parking lot is needed and the removal of that entire parking is, as things Mr. Stemple said. I don't share that particular belief, and in the belief that although Robeson, I think, has done a poor job of engaging the community, what they have come up with has met the intention of the City Planning Committee, and from that perspective is a compromise, which I would support. Thank you.
Thank you. Is the indicator going to be working correctly? Or?
Yeah, yes, it was working. It starts blinking red, and then it would have
And it was
gone
on
off.
red solid for quite a while.
Well,
Okay.
Maybe the battery's going. Holly Carrier.
My name is Holly Carrier. I live at 3143 North 155th Lane in Goodyear in Pebble Creek. When I first heard about this, I had the notion that that Robeson Corporation wanted to build houses all over that parking lot, and I was concerned about the I thought it would do disservice to the approach to the clubhouse. When I actually did see the plans, the first plan even, I realized that that wasn't going to be a problem, and I couldn't understand what all the hubbub was all about. Now that Robeson Corporation has made even further modifications to cut down on, to pull the houses back from the street, not to obstruct the view of the clubhouse, not to obstruct the view of the new Veterans Memorial that we have there. I feel like they have done an excellent job of trying to mitigate the major complaints that people had. I am in support of this proposal, and I just wanted to say that. I feel very good about what they're going to be doing. I think it's a win-win situation for everyone, and I know that there are some people who aren't satisfied, but I think we all have to compromise here, and I think that this is palatable to the majority, the vast majority of people who live in Pebble Creek. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jack Sarsam.
My name is Jack Sarsam. I'm with Robeson Communities. I also sit on the board for Pebble Creek Resort HOA. I just want to say that I'm in support of the plan. You know, we've come back numerous times, and I've spoken to numerous of the individuals that are in opposition to this. We've listened to what they've asked for. Every time we ask them for what they want, they came back with the same plan. So the compromise has really been on our side. We've come back from 16 to 15 to 13 sites. Every time we ask them what it is that we can compromise, it's the same 6 lots they want. There's no give on their side. And so I'm not sure what they mean by they want to compromise. We've compromised, and I think we've done an excellent job. And so I just want to say I'm in support of this. Thanks.
Thank you.
Steve Sorium.
Mayor, Council, my name is Steve Soriano. My address is 9532 East Riggs Road in Sun Lakes. I work for the developer, Pebble Creek Properties. Obviously, this is an application we've made. It's been modified several times as everybody's gone through. I support it as a property owner of the balance of Pebble Creek. We support it. We hope you approve it. As was mentioned earlier, because of opposition from some neighbors, you're going to require a 6 out of 7 at least, so I ask each of you to please approve it tonight, and I can answer any questions you have, if any.
Thank you.
I know I'm going to say this name wrong. Ed.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, staff. My name is Ed Youngst, and I live at 2117 North 164th Avenue in Goodyear. I'm one of the elected resident volunteer members of the Pebble Creek Homeowners Association Board of Directors, and I'm here to speak in favor of this rezoning and development plan as submitted tonight. This most recent proposal, as you've heard already from staff, is a much improved compromise that meets the things requested by the Planning Commission, the Council, many of the residents who have expressed concerns, and it does address adding more open space to the area. It greatly opens up the entire view when compared to the previous 2 proposals. It will widen the space view area as you approach the clubhouse to closely equal the open area on the left side as you approach the clubhouse. It has added a considerable parking area that will accommodate the larger buses that we've heard about before as an issue, that these buses pick up residents for activity-sponsored trips. It has both an entry and exit route for these buses. Last week, as you've heard, a meeting was held at Pebble Creek where Robeson representatives presented the plans, and they stated at that meeting that they had further compromised and taken into consideration things requested in previous meetings by residents and the council. Announcements were made on our e-group, which contains over 4,000 subscribers, and was posted on our official websites. In spite of that, a very small number of residents attended, and only 5 to 6 approximately people spoke against it. In fact, several speakers spoke, and some later reported privately that they were very satisfied with the latest proposal. You recently heard one of those speakers, or in fact 2 of them. I believe it's time to move forward and approve this rezoning and development plan so that this development can be completed and we can move on at Pebble Creek. So I respectfully request that you support this proposal with your votes tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the last speaker card I have is Melissa Kellett.
Good evening. Melissa Callett, 3022 North 148th Avenue. I sent you all a letter, and I just want to emphasize 3 things out of that letter. One is that I do favor the Robeson proposal. I think it is a great compromise. It keeps the view of the entryway. It keeps the oleanders, which I personally am in favor of. But having read some of the other messages that were sent to the council, apparently as much as I like them, there are other people that don't. I also wanted to just comment that the council did recommend that the Robeson Company get with the residents. And as I said in my letter, I like the way that they did it. They went with what they had received from previous open forums that we had where all the residents were invited to attend. And they addressed each of those issues in terms of the open space, the trees, the scenery. To have met with a small group that is in opposition, that is represented here, I think would have been a disservice to the community and the rest of us. And so, while it would have been nice to have another big open forum, I'm not so sure it would have accomplished anything other than what has been at the other two, with so few people that do show up. And then the third thing I wanted to say, I frankly can't remember what it was, but just to say that it is a wonderful community, and I think, personally, I'm a little bit embarrassed by all the attention that has been come to our community over something that should have been handled internally. Thank you.
Thank you.
No more.
Okay.
Mayor, apparently Kathy, is it Cindy, now would like to speak.
Nice lady, I like her.
My name is Cindy Graham, and I live at 2684 North, 162nd Avenue in Pebble Creek. Mayor Kavanaugh, members of the council, I am very disappointed and saddened that Robeson Corporation decided not to meet with the residents who were opposed to the rezoning of this plat. And as you asked them to meet with us the last council meeting, and they did not. They chose not to. They chose to go back to the drawing board and to eliminate 2 of the plots there that they were going to put houses on, and allow us another small sliver of land that will approach the clubhouse property. We have 2 clubhouses at Pebble Creek. We have one on the Eagle's Nest side, and we have one on the Tuscany side. You may not have seen our Tuscany side clubhouse property, but it is all clubhouse property. There are no houses on it. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. And it can be seen from the street as clubhouse property. Eagle's Nest will not be the same at all. It will not be consistent. It will be part clubhouse and part residential houses. And so the plan that, or the proposal that Steve Stemple showed you is asking for you to look at us having more space there that is not houses, that will make that whole area look more like clubhouse property and not a patchwork. It's really disheartening to know that we have a board that is heavily influenced by Robeson, who is our developer. Thank you for your time and listening.
Thank you. I'm going to close the public hearing. And I'll ask the city clerk to read the ordinance by title only, please.
Adopt ordinance 10-1221, amending a portion of the Pebble Creek Phase 1 planned area development to change the planned land use from clubhouse to urban residential low density UR/LO-6 dwelling units per acre on a 4.0 acre parcel generally located at the southeast corner of the intersection of Clubhouse Drive and Robeson Circle, adopting supplementary zoning map number 09-009 to provide for the zoning amendment, providing separability, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, thank you. Could I have a motion to approve the ordinance?
adoption of the ordinance.
Second.
Motion from Councilmember Susan, a second from Vice Mayor Lord. Open for discussion on the ordinance. To start?
Oh, thank you. First of all, I want to thank everybody from Pebble Creek, whether you're for this or against it, for participating. I think it's always good when we hear the public express their feelings. I think most of you know I live at Pebble Creek. So I have spent a great deal of time in the clubhouse area. So it's very close to me, and I have been in the last few months driving there daily to make sure if that parking lot is used or not. Because there were the main concerns you had. The first concern was something that you all sent in your emails, where it stated, as you came in the main gate, this would obstruct the view of the clubhouse. We can't see the clubhouse when we come in the main gate. We have to drive down to Robeson. We have to drive further in order to see that. And then when we do drive upon it, with the landscaping, it does obstruct some of the look. I mean, just for the trees and the bushes. Secondly, you complained that it struck the memorial, the view of the memorial. When I went over there, and I went over with several people who were neutral, okay, and said, just give me your feeling on this. You really can't see the memorial through the trees. You can see the flagpoles, but you have to get closer to the memorial to see it. So that was one of your concerns. Let me see. Walls will obstruct the view. Everything along Robeson Circle has a wall. Everybody that lives there, your house is either side to that street with a wall. There is no view from your side of your yards or the back of your yards. It's boxed in. We're all walled in there to the streets. Green area lacking. Certainly it would be nice to have a park. I'm with all of you. I'd love to have a park there, but this is zoned, and for staff, would you tell me if this doesn't go with the current zoning they have now, what could they build? Now, of course, it has to be by council's vote on it, but tell me what could be put up there.
Mr. Mayor, council members, on this subject property now?
Yes.
Well, now it is has a land use of recreation, so it would be I guess a recreational type amenity.
Okay, so recreational only. They couldn't come forth with anything else.
Like something commercial or?
That's what I'm asking you to say.
Mr. Mayor, council members, no, not commercial, no. They would have to come back to the council for a similar action, but instead they would be
But they
changing
could
it
come
to
back with something.
It's in their right to come back to the council for.
Okay, all right. In, a doctor's office, I mean, I'm just saying under that zoning, just help me here. What could you do?
In looking at it, commercial, it would have to be something that the applicant would need to submit. We'd have to look at it when it came in. It's a tough question.
It's a tough call, but is there a list of things that you could build in there? I mean, is there something in the planning and zoning? Joanne, you've been on that. What could you?
The general plan calls it out for residential.
Okay.
This area. So
okay.
A residential type development, a recreation type development, that would be something that would be consistent.
Thank you for clarifying that. You talk about high density and traffic. Again, over and over, I've driven over there all times of the day, and really, traffic, there isn't much traffic. I've attended events over and over again at the clubhouse, and never, ever have I had to park in the area over by the old craft center, Never have I had to park over there. Yes, I have gotten on a bus over there, and so I feel like this new plan allows us to put that bus there so we can park in some other area. Granted, we all have to walk from our cars to the club. We can't all park close to the club. Let me see what the other. Park to walk the dogs. I don't think that was ever designated for a dog park, although it's really nice. I see lots of people walk their dog in that green area, and now you have a larger green area. We of a city have given you 2 dog parks now to use for your dogs. So, well, I guess this is just one of those times we're going to have to, as a resident, I'm going to have to agree to disagree with this group that are against what Robeson is building. I, too, think he's been an outstanding builder. He has the right to make money. People who have businesses have the right to make money. We can't go back on what the decisions were made earlier on about the deeding the land back. I can't go back and make a judgment on this case with something that's already happened. I have to look at what is it today. And I've done everything I could to get meetings for you so that it would be fair and equitable. It didn't work out the way all of you wanted it. But I have to tell you that I think it's a good plan, and I will be voting for it.
Councilmember Souza.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When I left here after our last meeting, I was under the impression that there was an agreement between Robeson and the people that are against the original proposal, that they were going to get together. And I understand now that this never occurred. And if it did occur, it was not spontaneous. There's been a statement made, compromise. Really is not, in my estimation, there has not been a compromise made between Robeson and the group that are against this issue. That compromise to me was made between the Robeson Corporation and the City of Goodyear representatives. I am so disappointed in this because when I left here, and the council left here as a whole, we felt that there was going to be a meeting with the people, okay, and Robeson. That, in my estimation, that did not occur. I'll tell you, this is one council member that's going to vote against this issue. So you better try to get 6 more people that are going to go for you, because, or we postpone this hearing again, so that the group can get together with Robeson and come up with a compromise that is good for both sides. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Councilmember Cavalier, do you have a...
Yes, if I may, I have a couple questions. First, what is the plan? What do you plan to do with that open space? What is it, 4 acres?
Yes. The total is 4 acres.
The total is 4 acres. Is that going to be an open space area of grass and vegetation, or is that a parking lot? I was confused whether that was going to be one or the other, or is that up to the homeowner association and not up to Robeson? I guess I'm asking the engineer here.
You mean it's a stay like it is?
I think I can answer that.
Yeah.
We're open to suggestions on that. We'd be willing, a lot of people have mentioned they want a parking. A lot of people mentioned they want open space.
Okay.
We're open to that area being whatever we can decide upon. We'd be willing to, I think the parking that we showed on the current plan is what the residents would like to see. They did mention early on in the meetings that they wanted more parking, so we showed that. The additional area that's shown in that, we're open. We could do that in parking. We can leave it as green space. From what I've heard from residents, I think it's about 50-50. We're just...
Okay, because it looks good as an open space, and I just thought that's, if that's what you were shooting for, that looked good. So thank you. I appreciate that. And then the other thing, I guess, Vice Mayor covered this. It doesn't cover any area where you're facing it. I bought a house in Pebble Creek not several years ago, and the real estate person came to me and told me that the house I bought, the backyard had a view of the Estrella Mountains. Well, it had to be on that back lot, on that back row of houses. And I said, wait a minute, you didn't pay for that view, and now you're trying to sell it to me with a view, and you want more money because it's a view of the Estrellas. Only today, you don't have a view of the Estrellas there because homes are built on the other side of that wall, and there's a shopping center going to be built, so that's all obstructed. So I think you have to be careful what you paid for and what they promised you. Did someone promise any of you that you had a view lot when you bought the homes across from that or within that area? And if you were not promised that and you bought a lot just like everyone else, then any changes that happen across the street, you really have no control over. So I just want to make certain you understand that. And then the last thing I want to say is I want to urge the Robeson people that down the road, several years, when you decide to fill in the last of Tuscany, make certain that you now tell the people in Tuscany that there's going to be homes built in some of that open space that exists around that new clubhouse, because the same thing will happen again, and we'll have the same thing at this council meeting, which I won't be here then. I'm sure it's going to be that far down the road, but think about this. Robeson people, let the people that live there know what you're doing for the future. Put your plans on the table so that this doesn't come up again. Now, the way it's set up and the way it was presented to us, I have to vote for this. And but I just want to say, Robeson, please tell the people your plans. Make certain that they know what you're doing in the future. That is a beautiful development, and it's something we're very proud of to have in Goodyear. Even though I don't live there, I'm very proud to have the Robeson communities and Pebble Creek in my city. So please work together and work these things out. Thank you very much, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Osborne?
Thank you. Well, I'll admit, I've been riding the fence on this. This has been a tough one. And I was not here at the last meeting. I think I was the only one that was not in attendance, because I think, Frank, you were on the phone, weren't you?
Yes, I was here. I made the motion.
Huh?
I made the motion.
Well, I was a stalker of Pebble Creek today. I went out and did my due diligence, and I went from every corner of the area to look at the parking lot, to look at the homes, to look at the clubhouse and the drive and all that. So I did go and see what everybody was discussing. I do believe that Robeson did go back to the drawing board and did try to take some of the things that they heard as a compromise. I don't believe that they truly engaged with the citizens that were opposing it, and I think that was a failure on that part. I do believe that Robeson, as a landowner, has every right to build on their land. Now, I understand that there's issues that wasn't what, as a homeowner, was told to them when they bought their place, that, they always thought that would be a parking lot. I don't think right now, during the middle of the summer, is a good time to judge that parking lot, because no one's here. It's too hot. People aren't going there. And so I can't, myself, say whether or not that's really a used parking lot, but because, as far as I can tell, it's not. So I can't base my judgment on that parking. Someone's got to convince me that, yes, that parking lot is used a great deal, because right now, to me, it's just a big, ugly parking lot. It's not open space as far as I'm concerned. I am an open space big meanie. And when I was for 6 years on planning and zoning, way before this whole area was even under discussion, I would have been all over them about trying to convince me that open space is a golf course. I'm not a golfer. I don't see that as my open space. And so to me, it's lacking. I mean, it's a beautiful sight view, but to me, it's not open space. So that's why I'm torn. I'm torn because this developer has a right. He owns the land. Housing is not that big of a deal. It's not like we're asking for a crematorium to be built next to you or anything like that. These are homes, and there's still some possibility of parking. There's still some possibility of open space. So I'm really torn. One question I have for the developer, or for maybe Steve, is that one of the issues came about the armed forces area, and that the wall of the, let's see, I wrote it down, of the homes, I think it's homes 8 through, we had it up here. Steve, do you have a plat you can put up real quick? Oh, I have it. 8 through 13, that will be all their backyard brick wall that will be adjacent to the armed forces area, correct? So 8 through 13, there's the armed forces area, so that will be just a brick wall.
The developer chooses to put a privacy wall there, that's exactly. Some homes in Pebble Creek don't have walls, but these probably will because it's adjacent to the parking lot. So that would be a correct statement.
So right now, that's just going to be an eyesore next to something that is near and dear to the residents' hearts of that area. Is there any landscaping proposed to hinder that wall's ugliness? If you can't answer that, could the applicant answer that, please?
I'd probably defer that to the
Thank you.
applicant.
I think you're referring to the area, the sliver of land between the parking lot and the lots there. I'm sure Robeson would be more than willing to provide landscaping to kind of screen this area from the parking lot. Certainly, as Steve mentioned, I believe a wall would go at the back of the lots there, more of screening the parking lot from the lots as well. We did agree to do single-story homes in that area, so I don't believe that you would probably even see the wall. Well, you'd see it from the memorial in itself, but I'm sure they'd be more than willing to screen the wall in some manner. The other side, adjacent to Robeson Circle, there are some oleanders along there. We certainly, Mr. Robeson supported the Veterans Memorial or Armed Forces Memorial from the very beginning. As a matter of fact, we turned that land over. That was the land where the previous sales center used to be. There was a proposal to have that memorial up near the Arts and Crafts Center, and because those were retention basins, we thought we would be able to save the homeowners association some money, but thereby not filling in those retention basins and having to create retention in another area. So we agreed to allow that Veterans Memorial in this particular location. Landscaping, I'm sure we'd be more than willing to screen that area.
Okay. How about, while you're up there, now the area surrounding the veterans area, right now it's just dirt. No. It's not very.
Correct.
Would you be willing to help? Because I'm assuming that's HOA, right?
That's actually the developer parcel right now.
That is, okay.
That was actually part of where the sales center was. That area will be deeded over to the homeowners association in the future, regardless of how this proposal moves forward. Sales center is no longer needed. We have no use for that parcel. It will be open space area. It will be utilized for retention, but it will also be landscaped in the manner that the rest of Pebble Creek is landscaped.
So you will landscape that area?
Yes, we will.
Okay, because right now, to me, it's not finished, and I don't know who's going to take care of it. So.
That was part of the demolition of the sales center, and I believe Mayor Kavanaugh brought up the same question. Okay. We certainly will provide an open space area that is landscaped, as I mentioned, in the manner that the rest of Pebble Creek is landscaped,
okay,
which in my opinion is very nice.
So what is that? Define that for me a little better. When you say the rest, I mean, you're going to just put all granite? What are you going to put there? Any ideas?
I am the engineer, but I believe I could probably speak on behalf of the developer there and say that it will not just be all granite. Will it be covered in granite? Yes. Will there be some other landscaping material such as trees and shrubbery. There will be. As a matter of fact, when this sales center was originally there, there was quite a bit of landscaping out behind it. That landscaping will be restored. Now there's issues regarding what you can and cannot put in a retention basin, whether or not it'll be viable for a long period of time. But certainly, you know, as a developer, we're out to sell homes, and certainly, you know, providing something that's aesthetically pleasing, like the rest of Pebble Creek, is in our best interests. So we do plan on landscaping that area.
Okay. Well, you know, I know that you've tried to change things. I know that just over the years that you've made accommodations to, I mean, you made accommodations when Luke was having an issue with homes being along their sound wall areas, and I know that you've changed things in the past. That's all my questions for you. Thank you.
Sure.
Councilmember Pizzillo.
Hold up there, I got a couple for you. On the actual plan here, what is the game plan? Are you looking to spec these homes to minimize the footprint damage or the inconvenience for the area, or are you going to be building them as they're sold?
Typically, Robeson doesn't build spec homes. Normally, they sell the land. You know, we're selling homes, so we do not typically provide spec homes.
So how are they going about this when they, I mean, are you looking at fencing this off, walling this off, the area that's going to be under construction? I'm trying to get a picture in my mind, the time frame that you're looking at before this actually looks like houses and a road coming through it, you know, as opposed to dirt being torn up, or especially in an area that people are using it from an aesthetic point coming into the, you know, community as well. So.
Yes, Councilmember Pizzillo, that is a good question. You know, typically how things occur is you know, the subdivision is built, the roadways are built, and you know, the houses are built on a one-by-one basis. I think, as you mentioned, not being spec homes. I'm not sure exactly what Robeson's plan is regarding this. You know, I understand your concern. There will be a wall there in the future, although we did not plan to wall that cul-de-sac there. We left it, we chose to leave that wall open so it would back onto the open space. There would be walls along the sidelines of lots 7 and 8, along Robeson Circle South, and then, as Council Member Osborne mentioned, along the back of lots 8 through 13. I think we'd be susceptible to building the wall prior to the homes. I would have to ask Steve's opinion on that. Would that be something we'd be willing to do?
Yes. We would build the wall along Robeson Circle.
Sure.
Mark, the answer is yes. We're going to build a perimeter wall before we start selling.
Okay. Could you hear Mr. Cipriano?
Yeah, I think so. And I guess the other question is between, I guess it's kind of hard to, where you have the, I guess where it's backing up to the lot that's already there, and I think Council Member Osborne was talking about, is that all going to be greenery in there? Or, I mean, you got from the picture, it's pretty short distance between where the wall is and where the actual parking, you know, lot structure is, which I assume has a curve there, you know, for when the cars pull up. So the difference between where that is and the actual walls of the back of the house, what is going to be in that strip? It's hard for me to tell whether it's a foot wide, 2 foot wide from this picture, but there's obviously a gap between the backyard's wall and the parking lot. What's going to be? Yeah. Well, that whole area that stretches from.
Whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, up against lots
Correct.
8, 9, and 10. That distance there, roughly about maybe 10, 11 feet, just guessing on the scale of the drawing here. As I mentioned, we'd be willing to put, whether it be an evergreen material, whether it be oleander, something to possibly screen the Veterans Memorial from the residents, although I think a view of homes and a landscaped wall would be more aesthetically pleasing, in my opinion, than overlooking a parking lot. But we would agree to providing something other than a bush in that area, something that would dress up the area between the parking lot and those lots.
Let me ask a question then of Steve. Steve, does this come back at some point, the plan on what this actually looks like to the City Council?
Mr. Mayor, council members, after this action, the only thing you would see next would be a final plat at that point. So it would be a subdivision plan that you would see.
Okay, so we'd actually see what that end result would look like. Is that what you're saying?
Typically, we do not include like landscape plans at that time. It would be a final plat, a subdivision plat on your consent agenda typically. If there was something that council directed us to do differently, we could at that time, but normally you would just see the final plat, just the subdivision map, that would be it.
Another quick, and I'm not sure if, Steve, you're the one for the question on that. Something came up with the 2,078 lots, and I'm not quite sure what the point was that was being made on that, but are you the person to ask about that? I'm not quite sure I got the gist of that, but was there a certain limit within the plat that they can go over in Phase 1 or not, or from a city standpoint?
Mr. Mayor, councilmen, from a city standpoint, we would go by the PAD entitlement, what was approved with the PAD, and that was a lot higher number. I think it was a little over 3,000 units. So they did have, from a city perspective, a surplus of lots available to them.
Okay, so that's what you would go on, not necessarily what was in.
Yes, sir, we would go on the PAD.
Thank you.
Councilmember Loretano?
I guess you saved me for last.
I'm just going down the rows.
Excuse my voice here. I'm like Councilmember Osborne, a little bit on the fence right now for this. I am very impressed that both sides of this community are both very interested, and you don't see that as much anymore, where so many people are interested in community. So I do appreciate that. I also had the chance to talk to Gary Gelzer, our planning and zoning chairman, who I think he called a lot of people here. He's off in Seattle or something on a boat where it's cool. And he kind of gave me a little bit of the history. He did write a letter, and some of the things that he brought to my attention that were very important in his letter were the fact that as the chairman of the Planning and Zoning Committee, he felt that on the merits the plan was good. It met all the needs. Rob Robeson already cut down what they needed to do. And he also brought up a lot about Robeson's past history working with Luke and really working with the city on those. And I'm just kind of paraphrasing what he told me and what's in his letter. And I really do appreciate that. I think a lot of this, I'm not sure maybe Robeson had the best public relations with regard to this issue, and that is of concern. I did read some of the statements in the Arizona Republic, and I found those very concerning. And coming from a developer, I think maybe if the people who were against this felt a little more listened to, we might have been able to find a compromise that everybody liked. So I am kind of on this, the fence. They do have private property rights to develop their property, however, but it's our goal to make sure it's in conjunction with the city guidelines to develop it. I had some people write letters that say they just don't want this developed till anything else in that community gets developed. And I just don't think that's going to happen as well, because they do have the right to develop this. And realistically, I think these are probably going to be some nice prime lots right there. I also did a little research on my own. I pulled up some of the values of some of the houses for sale, and maybe because Pebble Creek has a more stable community and doesn't have the foreclosure rate, the houses have lost value significantly, but not like other areas. I mean, we saw some that were currently in the market lost anywhere between 20 on Armless and 40% of their value, depending on when it was bought. So I know you all have been hit, but you are a more stable community, which when we look at the property values. I do have a couple questions for the developer. I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice a little bit here. On Mulberry Lane, one of my questions before was, I concerned from being on planning and zoning, we always tried to keep lots from being kind of like a T with a lot where an intersection and headlights would be basically shining in people's front. We tried to stagger those. And what I noticed on your plan here, is even on the two that came in, you haven't staggered that. You haven't moved, it's Mulberry, right? Mulberry Lane. I mean, how can you fix that? Because every time someone drives up Mulberry Lane, lot 10 is going to get it right in the front window at nighttime.
Councilmember Loretano, I can somewhat maybe address your concern or comment there. On any of the final plats that we put forward, there's usually or almost always a stipulation, or not necessarily, I don't know if it's necessarily a stipulation, but it's a general note that goes on the final plat that the house will be turned so that the garage is in direct, so that the house is put on the opposite side of the lot. So in the attempt to try and avoid any, as much of the direct shining of the headlights, onto the house itself, to be shined on the garage rather than the windows on the house.
And then I have a question about between lots 11 and 12, there's a walkway there. Is that, we talked about, you said that wasn't going to be for pedestrian use. Any chance that is going to be some sort of path so people can get from this neighborhood or this adjoining neighborhood once you build those lots to get to the memorial easy?
Councilmember Loretano, of course we're on the fence on this option too. As Steve Sariano mentioned in previous meetings, that this isn't something that we typically do in the subdivisions. Normally, how we deal with drainage within the subdivisions. Normally we drain out to a golf course or an open space, and in this case we're draining to the open space area, which will be partly a retention basin as well. So as what you're looking at there is a drainway from the street, although you can see that we've shifted the drainway up to the north, and that's basically giving an area where a sidewalk could be put. We're not necessarily opposed to a sidewalk there. And that certainly could be built in the future. I know there's been responses from the public in previous meetings, and I think it was in the previous council meeting, but certainly in previous public meetings and during the Planning and Zoning Commission. Some residents were favorable for a sidewalk there, and there was a number of residents that were opposed to the sidewalk there for privacy type reasons. And that's why we've allowed for the area to put a sidewalk. Certainly as this area gets developed, the homeowners association, if they would could put a sidewalk out to that area.
You're not planning on doing it?
We are not planning on putting a sidewalk there, yes.
How about up at by lot number 7, with regard to some of we're talking a little bit about the landscaping, since that's obviously the RV parking is where there might be buses to come in and pull out. Is that a spot, I mean, are you planning to put any benches or anything, or it's just going to be totally passive?
That might be a question for Steve. Again, he had mentioned that would be the HOA's decision. I think per previous meetings that the intent or the thoughts was to have this as the resort type feel of coming into the clubhouse, so it be aesthetically pleasing to the area. We have, and I don't know if it was mentioned this meeting, but we have agreed to maintain all those palm trees that are at the entry there. We've agreed to maintain the grass and so forth in that open space area to make the entry to the clubhouse. Again, it's a benefit to us to have this look nice as you come into the clubhouse and into the subdivision. So it's intended as passive use. However, it would be up to the HOA if they wanted to put benches, if they wanted to put a walking path from the end of the cul-de-sac.
Yeah,
But of course, we will do the landscaping in that area.
And I saw the plan that the residents have, and then I've seen your several plans coming through, and I am pretty conflicted. For me, probably if you would have dropped lot 7 there, you would have opened it up a lot more, and I think it would have been pretty good right there. That's just my opinion. If you would have dropped that, you really would have opened it up, given a usable period of space, because I agree with Councilwoman Osborne. I don't know how to play golf. For me, that's not an open space. So I think those are my questions for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll make my statement, and I understand Councilmember Souza wants to follow that, and if there are any other questions, we'll handle those as well. I'll be very brief. whether you're pro or con on this, you express yourself very professionally, respectfully, and intelligently. So we're thankful for that, but not surprised, because that's typical within Pebble Creek, I think. In a democracy, you never please everybody. You wish you could, but you can't. I'm going to vote in favor of this motion. I think the effort to compromise, although arguable maybe in its depth, there was an effort and there was a compromise to some extent. It's undeniable that this person has a right to do this. He, speaking of Robeson, has complied with our city regulations, our zoning, will comply with our design guidelines. As people who are sworn to uphold the rights of other people, not just our residents, but everybody, I think we need to support this motion, and I will do that. Mr. Souza?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am really upset. Mark, would you please answer this question? Why, when you left here after the last meeting, did you not make any type of contact with Mr. Stempel and his group?
Again, that may be a better question for Mr. Soriano, but I'll attempt to answer that.
You were here, though, weren't you?
I was here at the council meeting, yes. Throughout the process, we've had, well, I'll just put the numbers out. 3 public meetings, 2 during the commission hearing and 1 just recently. We actually did have a private meeting in Mr. Soriano's office with primarily, I believe it was Frank Cavalier, Mr. Stempel. I might be misquoting by mentioning all the names, but I think it was a group of 4 or 5 individuals that were opposed to the project. And
there was a council member.
There was not a council member present at the private meeting in Mr. Soriano's office.
Okay.
I believe that there was staff and planning and zoning commission members at our previous public meetings, and I believe a representative, I believe it was the assistant to the mayor and council at our previous public meeting. We did, as I mentioned, with the meetings that we had in the past, we were under the understanding that we understood what the issues were in terms of the number of houses that were desired, and the plan that was put forth in Mr. Soriano's office a few months ago consisted of the 7-lot plan that exists today. And of course, we take the temperature, we talk with our homeowners association, we talk with residents during this process, and we understand what the desires are. At that time, we felt it was better to come up with a plan, and I know it was mentioned that maybe it was mentioned, I believe this meeting, I heard that we came with a plan that we had a predetermined notion of what the outcome was, that we tried to force it upon the people. By no means did we do that. We provided an open meeting where we asked questions. We got impact from the residents there. There was a number of people that supported it. There was also a number of people that were not in support of it. I felt that during that meeting that there was more people than previously that now support it that hadn't in the past. So we felt at that time that we understood what the issues were and we wanted to come up with a plan. We certainly did meet with the public prior to this meeting to understand what they thought about the plan. By no means did we have any intention at all to circumvent the desires of
Well, I think you could overcome that, that concern if you at least had the courtesy to contact Mr. Stempel and his group, okay? Because when you left here, the last meeting, you basically agreed that that's what you're going to do, and that didn't happen. And that's the reason I'm concerned here about the vote that I made. And I'm sticking to that. I'm going to make a proposal here to the council that this meeting be postponed until our next meeting, which is 2 weeks from now, and that all that has been said here by some council members, I have some concerns here also about the issues. And maybe we can iron this out, and I would hope that you would extend your hand to the group that is against this and come up with, quote and unquote, a compromise. And I mean a real compromise, not something that you're making, the presentation you're making tonight. So when my opportunity comes, I will make that proposal to the council.
Well, you can make your motion.
I will make a motion that this meeting be postponed to a meeting to occur 2 weeks from this date.
Is there a second? For lack of a second, the motion fails.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to postpone the meeting. Comments?
Quite frankly, I don't think 2 weeks is going to hurt anybody. And I think that there's a few fence riders here that 2 weeks, if there's a true discussion, and I will quite frankly say to the opposition that you have to be willing to compromise also. Don't come back with the same plans that you have stated to Robeson, because that's not fair. That's not compromise. And I do believe that Robeson has put out their hand to try, and they need to discuss it with you. So I will be in favor of you having that discussion and coming back. And if unfortunately nothing changes and you come back to us with that same plan that's been presented tonight, but at least the discussion was had, I think we can move forward. So I will support it.
Can I just say one thing? I just want not to be misrepresented here. There was a meeting. They did have a meeting. They did.
August 18th.
Because I made sure that they had this meeting.
That's what somebody said.
So we're getting the impression to people that they didn't have a meeting. They did have a meeting.
Who did they
I
meet
think
with?
it's the process of the meeting that they were unhappy with. I just want you to know that they did all come together in a room.
Yes.
Okay. They just, I think it was the process in which they felt that maybe the opposing or that do not want it, they didn't have the opportunity maybe to voice as much as they wanted to do, and it sounds like they had come up with a plan, Robeson, from our last meeting and presented that. Is that what went on?
We met at the Pebble Creek Ballroom last Thursday, August 18th. I would say roughly anywhere from 30 to 50 people showed up. We did it. There was an HOA board meeting held that day. We concluded the board meeting, which the board was happy to see because nobody usually shows up for the HOA board meetings. So there was quite a few people there, many that were opposed to the project, many that were in favor of the project.
I just wanted to clarify that so that when people listening to us tonight, might have gone away with the impression that they did not have a meeting, and they did.
Well, I guess that's part of the impression that I'm under. I understand there was a meeting. I knew that took place. However, I got the feeling that it was one-sided.
Was there an announcement made to Pebble Creek that this subject would be presented?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And was it broadcast throughout Pebble Creek?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
We have TV and e-group, and we have lots of ways to get to people.
I have a motion and a second to postpone this for 2 weeks, correct? Further discussion on the motion? I'm ready. Go ahead.
Just briefly, I'm not sure, just from the comments, that it's going to pass, so I think I'd be in favor of going ahead. 2 weeks isn't going to kill us. I think I'm okay with that.
My concern is what you just mentioned as well, is I think the plan, it covers a lot of what some of the issues were, but if you don't get 6 votes here tonight, it's dead. So, and I'm not getting the vibe here that there's 6. So, I have a tendency to lean to the 2, because if you don't, then it just dies right here. So, that's.
I'm sorry, Joe, interrupted you. Go ahead.
Oh, okay.
My fault.
Oh, no, just my concern is if there's not 6 here, and I'm not sure there is, it will die right here. I don't have a problem waiting another 2, but, that's kind of where I'm kind of coming from here right now, is whether there's actually 6 here, and it doesn't sound like it.
Postpone you're talking about?
Yeah. No, it doesn't have to be for the postpone, but it has to be if this dies and we go to the other vote, so.
Yeah, his concern is that if we vote and it comes up 5
Yeah.
or fewer, then
Yeah.
this
Just-
slips for a year? Is that
Right.
correct?
Yes.
For a year.
That's my concern, yes.
Yeah, me too. Does the applicant have a wish to have this postponed?
I would have to refer to the developer on that.
Yes, sir. Mr. Soriano?
Mayor and council, one of the questions of council members is, it seems that one of your primary concerns is were there meetings held with the homeowners after being directed to do so by the P&Z and then later by the council? And you should, and I think you do know, but I'm just going to restate it. Shortly after presenting to the Planning and Zoning Commission, several of the folks that are most opposed to this came to Sun Lakes and visited with us in our office. We met with them then. We've had 2 Planning and Zoning Commission meetings. This is our 2nd City Council meeting, and we've had 3 public meetings where the entire community of Pebble Creek was notified in advance, including the one on the 18th. It was held last week on the 18th because that was the day of the HOA meeting, and rather than have several meetings in 1 week, we held it the same day.
The 2 people that you referred to were they from the opposing group?
It was 4 folks that came to our office in Sun Lakes, and yes, those 4 are represented. Those 4 were against the proposal in front of you. Actually, they were against the proposal that was in front of P&Z at the time, which was 16 lots. They carefully went through their list of concerns, and yes, we've labeled it the opposition tonight, but in reality, the homeowners there. So it is the same 4 people. It is part of the same group. Those 4 people are part of the same. So we've had 1 private meeting with them. We've had 2 public meetings at Planning and Zoning, 3 community meetings at Pebble Creek, and now this is the 2nd meeting at City Council. So I don't think it's fair to say we didn't meet with them.
Was Mr. Stemple one of those individuals?
Yes, he was, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, no, wait.
No.
He was not. I'm sorry. It was 4. You would have to ask the other gentleman who all 4 of them were. I don't have my notes with me. But there were 4 people that were opposed to it. And by the way, Mark misspoke. It was not Councilman Cavallari. It was somebody else named Frank. It was not him. It was not a city councilman coming to our office. It was a different person named Frank. Okay? But we've had at least 4 or 5 meetings.
I have one comment, because these 4 people that oppose this, it doesn't sound like they're in favor of compromise. It sounds like they don't want it. And I don't know that we'll accomplish anything in 2 weeks, because they're going to come back saying, we just don't want it. And I don't think that you've made the compromises, and they want more. And I don't know what more is, because they haven't said. What I've heard them say is they don't want it.
Yes, sir. I've heard the same thing. And I can't say what they would do.
Okay, so this is this is what I'm saying. 2 weeks from now isn't going to change anything, because they're still going to come back and say, we don't want it.
Mayor Kavanaugh, excuse me for interrupting, but the next meeting is September 13th, so it's longer than 2 weeks.
Oh, good clarification. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, I do believe that Mr. Stemple did show us something that was what they wanted, which was, I believe, only 7 homes.
He wanted 7.
6 or 7
6
homes.
or 7 homes.
So they did show us of something, but that's obviously not going to be a compromise that Robeson, I doubt, would accept.
No,
So,
I don't think it would be.
Okay, we have a motion to postpone the meeting until the 13th of September. Is that correct? Okay, and Mr. Pizzillo has outlined some of the possible negative ramifications of that. I'm willing to face those ramifications myself. I think we need to move on this. We need to make a decision. That's what we get paid to do. Not a lot, but we get paid to do. So if everybody's ready, I'll ask for a motion
You've already had
Since it's going to be pretty close, I'll use a roll call vote, right?
Yep, you have a motion.
To postpone.
To postpone.
This
roll
is a
call
motion.
Postpone, just so, it's going to be close.
All right, motion by Councilmember Sousa, second by Councilmember Osborne to postpone to September 13th. Councilmember Cavalier,
Nay.
Councilmember Osborne,
Aye.
Councilmember Pizzillo,
Nay.
Councilmember Loretano,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Lord,
Nay.
Councilmember Sousa,
Aye.
Mayor Kavanaugh.
Nay.
Passes 4-3.
Failed.
I mean, fails 4-3, I'm
Fails.
sorry.
I was going to say.
Please repeat that so there's no question on the minutes.
Fails 4-3.
All right, so now we're back to the main motion, and that is to, the main motion is to approve the ordinance as presented. Further discussion on that subject? Okay, motion to approve the ordinance as presented. Lynn? Roll call.
I just want to clarify, the main motion was made by Councilmember Sousa, seconded by Vice Mayor Lord. Councilmember Sousa?
No, he didn't make the main motion.
Now, he's being asked to vote.
Give me the issue again.
This is to
approve
adopt
the
the
application.
ordinance.
To build the 13 homes.
Nay.
Councilmember Cavalier?
Aye.
Councilmember Osborne?
I will vote what's legally correct. Aye.
Councilmember Pizzillo?
Aye.
Councilmember Loretano?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Lord?
Aye.
Mayor Kavanaugh?
Aye.
Passes 6-1.
Okay, now we'll move to the preliminary plat. A call for motion to approve a preliminary plat for Pebble Creek Phase 1, Unit 1A, subdividing 4.65 acres into 15 single-family lots. 13.
Right, need a motion.
No, but it's wrong on this thing here. Okay,
Oh.
My correct says 13.
okay, that's good, this one. Okay, why don't you make the motion, Councilmember Osborne, since yours is correct, so let's make
Oh.
sure, okay?
I move to approve preliminary plat for Pebble Creek Phase 1, Unit 1A, subdividing 4.3 acres into 13 single-family lots.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Osborne and a second from Vice Mayor Lord. Open for discussion.
Okay, this comes back to the landscaping for me against that wall. Sorry, jumped in there.
Okay, and you'd like to
But I think you
respond,
said-
or you just?
I'd like
I
it
don't think you
stipulated
heard.
that it will be done.
Oh, you want a stipulation
Yes.
for it?
Okay,
You got it.
What would you like done? We'll do it.
let's add that to your motion, please.
Okay.
All right, Rourke, we'll add this stipulation. Yes, okay.
To add the stipulation that landscaping will be provided against the adjacent walls of units, I believe, 8 through 13, and that landscaping will, this will be the HOA's, or this will be yours?
We don't have, we plan on selling it all.
Are you going to deed it to the HOA before you've landscaped it, or are you going to landscape it and then deed it to the HOA?
We're going to landscape it and then give it to the HOA.
Okay, I want good landscaping. I'd like bushes. Now, it's up to the HOA, I think, if they want it to be granite or grass, because they will have to maintain it. So, but I believe that trees or bushes are appropriate for that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, is that clear enough, Rourke, for the motion?
Basically, what I got was that the developer will install landscaping from lots 8 through 13, either grass or granite, as by HOA.
I think they should determine what they want for landscaping. I don't think
Well,
we
that
should.
allows them to do it. I'm sure the retention basin's going to be grass, isn't it?
Before deeding it to the HOA.
Well, I didn't want to dictate it.
I know that.
Yeah.
So, what are you saying, Frank?
I just think that it's up to them to, what the landscaping should be more appropriate than us. I mean, we're not landscapers. I think
I
it's,
just don't want it to be granite. I just don't think that, you know,
yeah,
that was my
should be
concern.
appropriate landscaping. And I don't think we should say what it should be.
Up to the typical standards of Pebble Creek?
Yes.
Good?
Yes.
Is that all
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
All right,
That's good enough.
okay.
But let's don't start putting material in there. Yeah.
Okay, so everybody agrees with the motion, and did we get a Vice Mayor Lord seconded, correct?
Yes, I second it.
Okay, further discussion? All those in favor of the preliminary plat signify by stating aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? You guys have it 7-0.
Mayor Kavanaugh,
Yeah, ayes have it.
You said nay.
Did I?
Yeah.
It's been a long conversation.
Ayes have it.
Al Macias showed up shortly after we went into the public hearing. He is here to give the report on the census.
If you have the time.
Take it.
Promise to be short.
Yeah, I have a presentation to make, too, about the contribution of naval men on a carrier, and John Sense came out here to hear it. If John doesn't mind, why don't we postpone both of them? I think people are tired, frankly. Is that all right with you, Al? Can you come back?
I think I might have a conflict on the 13th, but I'll find time. I'll make time to come back.
Is that all right? I think we all want to go home, frankly. Anybody want to hear my presentation on carriers?
Yeah, my daughter was on that carrier.
You do? Was she?
Tiffany was on the Abraham Lincoln.
Okay.
Sure. It looks like everybody's leaving, so I'm not sure.
Do you want to do it when there's more people?
I just spent a day on the Midway yesterday. USS Midway.
I said my daughter
Why
was
don't
on.
we ask you to come back on the 13th, and we'll do it on the 13th. John, I apologize to you.
Yeah, let's do.
John Sense, if it weren't for John Sense, I would not have been on the carrier. So, and I learned a lot about the Navy and the contribution of some of the greatest Americans I've met. So it restores your faith in mankind on that. So I want to talk about that. It's not about me, it's about U.S. Navy and youngsters serving it. I'll do that in 2 or 3 weeks. All right? Okay. Opportunity now for council. Current events.
I have my list.
I didn't make it up tonight.
Come on.
I'm going to talk about the Navy if you do that.
Okay,
So, let's
fine.
go.
Yeah, oh, she's starting to breathe on me. All right, fine.
City manager?
Excuse me, I guess I'll defer also.
Okay, inquiries to staff. Seeing none, meetings adjourned.